Good morning, everyone. How has your week been going, for goodness sakes? How many of you have been watching the series of the Cosmic Vibes? Now, make sure you like the videos, make some comments, and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to get new content and so on. I'm going to be announcing when I'm going to be going live in December to do the next free clairvoyant readings as well. So in order to find out when that's going to happen, you have to subscribe to the channel and tune in. So, and then you can set your dates and so on and ask me a free question. I'm just saying, there's a lot happening in 2026. So I'm going to be giving you some insights, what's coming up for you in 2026. So hang on to your hats, everyone. So now let's talk about this week's energy, what's going on every day, like November 23rd to the 29th. Like, my goodness, we are ending Mercury retrograde. Mercury goes direct. Thank the Lord, right? However, that still goes on until mid-December. So, but the energy starts to calm down after the 29th, 30th of November. Thank goodness, because it ends officially realistically on the 17th. But you'll notice that change start coming in. And this Mercury retrograde, by the way, it's been a lot more calmer than the other retrogrades. I mean, I don't like Mercury retrograde myself, but this is the time when we work with the energies, what happens? The energy works with us. So that's why I give you guys tips on how to utilize these energies that will work with you, and especially to use caution on certain times as well. So we are still kind of in that new moon energy in Scorpio. I talked about that on my last video. Scorpio energy, very transformative, very deep. So you're still going through this transformation period right now. But we are in Sagittarius energy, Sagittarius season, as I talked about that as well last time. How many of you guys are Sagittarius? I have a lot of friends that are Sagittarius, right? I mean, all walks of life, of course, right? So we have Venus moving into Scorpio as well. Venus energy, love, emotion, depth, heart. Scorpio is very transformative, transformation, birth, re-death, all of that. So things could get very emotional from the heart in a really good way if you listen to your heart. However, it can bring sudden endings as well to relationships and situations. So if you have been paying attention to what has not been working, you're going to see that things get sudden end as well, you know? So it really depends where you are. So you're going to find as we start off the 23rd and 24th, you're going to be standing up more for your righteousness, standing up more for your truth, because this is the week when you're really going to take your power back in quantum leaps. We all go through a lot in life, and we all have limitations where we're like, I'm done. I've had enough. So this is when it very well could be, I'm done. Keep in mind, this is year of completion as well, when we have completed situations, endings, because we want to move forward. And whenever there's any endings, what happens? There's new doors that open. Endings can be very painful, or it can be like, oh, thank goodness that's over with, right? We've seen that where the Mercury retrograde, it brought in a lot of delays. That's still going to happen. Oh, why isn't this happening? I've been waiting forever for this or that message or whatever. That's Mercury retrograde. Retrogrades go backwards. So this is the time, when you guys have been slowing down, but I wanted to do this and this and that. Slow down. It really gives you that opportunity to rest more and reflect. And this is the week when you're going to also wanting to be clearing up misunderstandings, resolving situations, especially, whenever we have that Venus energy, speaking from the heart, you could be like, oh my goodness, I have to resolve this. And you might even find that, you know what, today is the day I'm going to really speak with my person, or a situation that is kind of gone like, oh my gosh, you know, that new moon could have brought in a lot of frustration and challenges as well, you know, of, oh my God, this isn't working, right? Very emotional time. So look back onto July this year, if you guys can remember what was more so happening in July, you know, if there was kind of like some restrictions, or wow, why all of a sudden did this happen? Like, oh my gosh, look at where you are now, because you could be seeing the results of that. And you very well could be understanding more why something didn't happen. Like, I was actually supposed to have gotten a dog in July. Um, and at the last minute, actually the night before, the breeder had told me something about the dog, and I'm like, I said, no, I had that feeling, you know, but I'm very grateful she did that, because it would have been a 3.5 hour drive for me to driven up there to get that dog, 3.5 hour drive back, and so on. So it's really important to really see why things happen now and what decisions you made. It will make a lot more sense to you. You know what I mean? Because the spirit world, they do have your back. Even when we're like, oh my God, why isn't this working? Mercury retrograde, communication problems, so many different delays, and so on and so on, right? But your soul wants to move you in the right direction. So you're going to be seeing more righteousness, you know, the 23rd and the 24th, with I'm taking my ground, I'm standing in my ground. I'm going to be speaking up with more integrity and righteousness. You know, it's like some of those old folk singer songs, standing up for righteousness. You know, John Lennon with Peace and Imagine and all of that thing, standing up for righteousness, all of those things. Some people don't like that, so they eliminate that person. I'm just saying, you know, we've all seen that. But you've also been seeing this year, who are you more connected with in a soul tribe, in a soul level? You know, as we end certain connections and relationships, you know, with people in all walks of life, it can get really hard and painful and everything, but it doesn't mean it's the end. You know, we can come back with them at a different time. It depends on the situation. So you've noticed people from the past coming back. You might have very well had more vivid dreams. That's going to continue on and on and on. Really pay attention to that. You know, so this can bring sudden ending to situations that you have been struggling with more, even more this week. Like I'm just saying, when you're seeing things coming together more in synchronicity, you're going to be like, oh, that's why. That's why I brought up July. You know, you're looking at, wow, I'm glad I didn't do that, or boy, I know I had to go through that to get me here, and so on and so on and so on and so on. That very well can continue. When we're seeing more synchronicity, it's like a wink from the universe. Hey, you're on the right track. You know, when we're still struggling with things, which you will be, pay attention to, what am I struggling with? Emotions. I'm struggling with this person or situation, whatever it is. Just write it down in the meantime. Write it down. You're still healing. You're still working through that energy as well. So 25th and 26th of November, you're going to have more soul maturity. This is when Venus is entwined with Scorpio. Intimacy, learning and reflecting back on lessons in relationships, especially. What did you learn from that? Your heart's going to open up, it's going to expand more. So, this is a perfect time to have a talk with your person and really be open to receive. You know, we can be working hard and hard and hard and getting frustrated with situations. I'm done. I'm going to throw in the towel with this. I've had it. Be open to receive, because miracles do come at the last minute. I actually saw that the other day with myself. Woke up in the morning and I'm like, you know, I'm done with this and that, certain things. And as soon as I said that, like my phone, boom, is going off nonstop with messages coming in. I'm like, what? It was like, what? In a really positive way. So it's like, okay, I'll keep going on with this, or I'll keep going on with that. However, pay attention to what really needs to end. You know, look at where you were, last November, look at where you are now today. So you'll see the results even more, of course, when we reflect over the last year and review. Has there been a huge, has there been like a huge steps forward with this? Are you really, really seeing results? If not, get rid of it. Or you can continue on. It's up to you, but it's like, wow, I've invested a lot of money in this and that. I'm not seeing the results. It's just not working. I'm getting drained doing this. For what reason? It could be a job you're going to let go of, right? There's been a lot of pre-warning signs this time of, what, pay attention, pay attention. We all have those days when we just really, I've had enough, like we get that anger and fire built up with us. I've had enough. That new moon really pushed it. It really did it for me. I voiced my opinion, believe me, in a very blunt, direct way to certain people and individuals that I'm like, no. So pay attention. This is the worth. This is when you're really stepping forward and taking your power back, because you're going to see your worth more. And I'm done. Like I'm done with the games. I know what you're doing. This isn't working for me. All of those things. So you're going to want to have even more compassion for yourself as well, because you're still healing and working through things. You're going to be setting more boundaries. I always talk about boundary setting. You're going to start to see more clarity of, wow, I got to end this, or geez, maybe I got to work on that, like whatever it is, because your intuition is going to be much stronger this week as well. How many of you have had certain dreams? Like I've gotten like profound messages, like really profound messages. I even had a text come in the other day, which was connected to my dog, Bella, who had passed on just when I was thinking of her. And I'm like, I still have chills over that, because the very song I was listening to, boom, as soon as I got that text right after I had a song that I was, like I had listened to Spotify, and a song just hit me, boom, right after that text. And I'm like, wow, I still have chills. I still have the text on my phone. And I'm like, wow, I needed to hear that. I actually needed to hear that because I miss her a lot. I really miss her a lot. So, it's be open to receive messages. Talk to people who have passed on, your pets and loved ones and so on. I can always give you messages, and so you can always book a reading from me, but just really be open to hear messages and pay attention to these signs. Signs come in many, many ways. And especially if you're really open to get signs, you'll see them. And you're going to be like, I don't know. It's like that text, boom, all of a sudden I'm like, and then not even like 5 minutes later, it could have been like within a minute after I got that text, boom, a song came on that really triggered me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, right? So be open to receive, for goodness sakes, you guys. So the 27th and 28th of November, like, oh my gosh, we are in December at the end of this week. Like, oh my God, we're at the end of the year. Holy smokes, right? Like, oh my goodness. So you're gonna be more realistic with it. You're really gonna be like, I gotta be more realistic with this. I'm gonna start taking more responsibility for my actions or my behavior. Maybe you said certain things to someone, during Mercury retrograde time or November or whenever, and you're like, wow, I was really hard on that person, or I wasn't thinking, I was very emotional and I really vented out and so on. For you to really vent out and be emotional, yeah, there's things there that still have to be resolved, that you're still getting triggered with, that you're still healing and resolving. We always will get triggered with certain situations that we're healing from. Doesn't matter if it was 20 years ago or if it was something more recent, we're still healing and letting go with this. You're going to see a lot more truth and secrets being exposed during this time too. I mean, that's nothing new, right? But, it's like, yeah, Jenny, I can see that in the media. However, look at your own personal life. The media is one thing, it's not a surprise, but it's like more secrets and truth being exposed in your own personal life with situations. Really see that, because you're really, really going to be doing a lot of deep healing in a real cellular level. Don't suppress your emotions. When those little tears start flowing, allow it to come. So it could even be a little bit more emotional for you. As Saturn goes into direct, you're going to find that things are really ending. Things are really completing its cycle and its time. We all have soul contracts with people, and no matter what it is, it could be personal, it could be where you're living, your lease is coming to an end, it could be with your job, it could be with, like, anybody, right? So situations are really completing itself and ending. You're going to be finding that you're going to be tying up loose ends around this time. You're going to be wanting to, what, I need to resolve this thing one way or another, like, so I can move on. Sometimes, it's like, yeah, but I can't talk to this person. You can write them a letter, you can send them an email, send them a text message, or you can start writing out a letter and saying everything you truly wanted to say to that person. It could be a million pages long as it's irrelevant. Go outside and burn a copy. It starts to heal and release that to the energy of the spirit world. You're going to find that you're going to start making some long-term goals, more in finance and career and money. And so right now during this time, you're going to see that, what, I just really need to, after I've let go, I'm going to start reevaluating everything, setting new goals. It'll be more career and business goals and such like that, right? But Jenny, I made all these goals and oh, I've only completed one. Or, I get that. We all get that. We can have things that come up that can stop us in our tracks because of certain situations. Of course, that's part of life, But you might find that you're going to be more peaceful and more in harmony on the 27th and 28th, especially as you're healing and letting go and resolving situations. You could find that you're more inspired, you're more creative. Pay attention to those little ideas that start coming in more of a creative way. I mean, when you're setting long-term goals, if you work, I mean, I've been working on classes for a while myself for you guys. That is not like a very short-term goal. No, there's certain things I wanted to do with that during Mercury retrograde. And I'm like, oh, hell no, I'm not. No, 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 no. I'm not even going to entertain that during Mercury retrograde. Not going to happen. Right. So it's like just certain things you can get things ready to go as Mercury retrograde, comes to an end. Things will start to eat up or, ease up and such like that. Technology, electronical as well. So pay attention to that because you're going to be more like responsible, for making commitments to yourself, making commitments to others or whatever it is. You're going to be like, wow, I really got to commit to this, to my goal, or really got to commit to that person, or like, whatever it is. Really pay attention to that. Because when you're doing this, as we get towards the 29th, you very well could start feeling a lot more lighter, seeing more clarity, and really allow what's supposed to end. Ask yourself, why am I still holding on to this, to that person? Do some real soul searching, that dark night of the soul. Why am I still holding on to this person if they're very toxic, if it's not going anywhere? You're really going to see why things ended again. Release it, heal, reflect over it, because you could very well see a lot more truth. Your person or somebody that you, let's say, had conflicts with, or you're uncertain with, they very well, or you could say your truth that day. If you had your eye on somebody, let's say, and all of a sudden that person could say, I'm sorry, it's not going to work out, or I'm sorry, I'm just not wanting this right now, or whatever. Really pay attention to that, and don't fight with it. Like, don't, just really pay attention to what's being said, because you very well could hear a lot of secrets they're going to be, sharing with you. They very well will be more honest with you as well. This isn't going to work for whatever reason. Or you could hear things. Maybe that person has been seeing somebody else. Maybe they're interested in somebody else. Maybe they're not single where you thought they were. Like all of those kinds of things. This is when secrets come out, more truth is exposed. So that really can hurt. You know what I mean? So, but would you rather not hear the truth than to continue on with that person? So this is when you're like, I have to move on. I have to take more responsibility. This isn't going to work. So this is when you very well could get more focused on your career, professional goals. Maybe you're going to be signing up for certain classes. And I'm hearing that more professionally, by the way, especially for you, you guys out there that are wanting to take more like university classes or something more career oriented. You could be like, yeah, I need more training. I need to move in this direction. Yeah, there's a class starting in January for physics. You know what I mean? Or maybe there's a law course, like, anything like that. So it's going to be more goals like that, more professionally, where you're going to be moving forward to, and I keep here in Arizona as well for someone. Um, Maybe some of you are booking flights. Maybe some of you are going to be like, yeah, I'm looking at booking that flight for January, let's say, or certain things like January and February. We still have those leftovers from this year. I'm going to be doing another predictions video here for 2026, probably in December sometime as well, coming out. A lot of my predictions have came true for this year with what's happened. So I'm just saying, when I start hearing messages coming through from the spirit world, I actually start writing down predictions at any time, like even certain things that I'm seeing for 27, 28, 20, 29 and 30th. I start writing it down, what I'm being hearing, what I've been showing, all of those things. So I actually started writing down things for 2026 already quite some time ago. So you'll have to tune into that video in order to watch it whenever it goes up. We'll just see. I go with the flow as well. So, and if you guys do want to book a reading, for goodness sake, so workwithjenny.com as well to get more clarity. Sometimes we just need that to happen, right? If there's any readers out there or psychics out there, by all means, I would absolutely love a reading. I give a lot of free readings. I'm open to receive free readings. Why not? Of course, right? So any insights, intuitive insights, let me know. Make some comments. My goodness sakes. So now let's pull a couple of cards. I don't use cards, of course. I'm clairvoyant. I read your energy, past life. I'm an animal communicator, insights, all of these things, answer all your questions and whatever messages come through from the spirit world, from your loved ones and pets and so on. I never know what's going to come through at any given time. For those of you who've had readings from me, know how I'm at, right? So let's just pull a couple of cards. YouTube Collective, of course, for this week specifically. What is coming up? What messages does the spirit world have for you? And I'm going to be using, I'm going to talk to like a past life deck because we're still dealing and healing from even past relationships, past situations, even past life situations. There's a lot of healing. That's why I do past life readings to give you a better understanding of what's going on. I actually did a past life reading here on YouTube with one of my clients, Thomas. You can go down the videos and watch that. So it gives you an idea of what a past life reading is all about as well. So anyways, what is the message from the 23rd to the 29th of November? What is the message the 23rd to the 29th? What is the message from the 23rd, 29th? Message from the 29th. Wow. So this card absolutely 100% makes sense. Spirituality and religion. So this has been a very spiritual year. Some of you that have changed your path, especially, spiritually, you're more awoken. You've seen a lot more clarity this year with, world events or with situations personally as well. Some of you have been more on like soul searching, a journey of self-discovery. Some of you are like, you know what, I'm not into that as much anymore. You know, I'm more drawn, pulled into this area spiritually. Some of you could be like, you know what, I'm not into that religion or culture anymore as well. You know, so we all are going through this transformation, and you have to walk the path that resonates for you. You know, as when you're on your spiritual journey and awakening, it can be you can feel very alone at times, because when you're going through a journey of self-discovery, you're reflecting a lot. So certain people from your past, you could be like, I don't get it anymore. They're still in my heart, you know. And we go certain times and we don't connect with certain people, and then all of a sudden we connect with other people, and then we get drawn into different cultures or religions or spirituality and so on and so on. It's your journey personally, but it very well could feel very lonely and alone, you know, because when you start talking about, let's say, certain things with other people that you used to talk about other things with, they're going to be like, I don't get that. I don't, you know, so there's going to be some conflicts there, right? Of course. You know, if somebody was sitting there talking to me about something that I have no interest in, like politics, I really don't. I'm going to be bored, or I'm going to be like, yeah, I got to go. You know what I mean? Like just certain things like that or whatever. So you are seeing how you're changing, where some of you before might be like, I want to get into politics, right? It's your path. It's your path. Nobody could pay me enough money to go into politics. Oh my God, no. I'd expose everything in a very blunt way, very rude way. But anyways, so let's have a little chat with our cards, what's coming up collectively for you guys to think about. So if you guys resonate with these cards, let me know. The 23rd to the 29th of November. What is the messages? Oh, children, children. Oh my gosh. Your love life is being affected by children. And you know what? I didn't notice this before. There's also dogs on this card. Some of you very well, of course, like for me personally, for those of you who know me, my dogs are my babies, my children. You know, I had an Irish Wolfhound McTavish, 200 pounds. That's my baby. Could be a little chihuahua, or it could be a huge dog. Those are my babies. So those are my life force. So for those of you who are animal lovers, you know what I'm talking about. So maybe some of you are getting new pets. Maybe some of you are like, you know, maybe I'm gonna look more into this with my child. You know, I also work with children too, by the way. I help them bring out their abilities only if there's an adult with them, of course. But some of you might have some concerns about, you know, I've been wanting to have a baby. Maybe this is your sign that you're going to be fertile myrtles. Maybe this is the time when you're going to be finding out you're pregnant. You know, maybe some of you are going to be like, you know what, I really want to work with children or animals. So your love life is being affected by that. Maybe some of you are like your partner wants a child, but you don't, or you want a child and your partner doesn't. This is a time of reviewing. Some of you could be struggling with relationships because how you raise your child or your pet could be different to your partners, but a lot of energy coming through with our animals and our children. Have some concerns, of course. You know, when we have new moon energy, really harsh energies, it will affect your children and your animals. I mean, it affects all of us, you know, but our children and our animals are very sensitive. So they act differently when there's certain energies more at play. So that's really interesting. That deck wasn't, that's not an animal deck, by the way, but it's interesting what messages the spirit world has for us. So let's have a little chat with some angels. Angels are very real, by the way. I talk about that also in one of my classes. I'm putting together a few different classes on a few different subjects and topics, by the way. to help you guys out in many ways. So let's see what the messages are from the 23rd to the 29th of November. And as I'm talking about angels, I don't know if you guys can see that. I have a light coming in suddenly. I don't know if you guys have noticed that my light here is brightened up a lot more. Like I can see it. I don't know if you guys can, but the Holy Spirit has messages. The angels, it's funny. When I talk to certain people, sometimes something will all of a sudden happen, like boom, you know. The spirit world has a way of talking to us, you guys. So interestingly enough, the card that fell out, Austera, is about fertility. Fertility is new beginnings as well, creative ideas. So I'm just going to read this card to you. It is the perfect time for you to start new projects, access new ideas, and give birth to new conditions. There's a lot of rebirth cards here. Take a look at that. You know, and this is when you're standing more in your power this week in quantum leaps. That door can open for you once you make a decision. Universe works with you to take you towards your goals, to make your dreams happen, as long as you're taking the steps to happen. We just can't sit back there and say, I'm not doing nothing. Spirit, you do everything with abracadabra, make this happen. No, you still got to work towards your dreams and your goals and so on, because the spirit world will work with you. Gee, spirit, you know, I'm stuck right now in a creative way. Can you please give me some signs or help me see more clarity with what direction I need to move forward to, or what I need to tweak in my project, or this or this or that, you know, all of these things. Some of you guys are putting up, you know, like Christmas decorations. We have like American Thanksgiving coming up during this time too. So for my fellow Americans, happy Thanksgiving this week. You know, gobble, gobble, gobble. Right? I'm just saying. I just got this joke. I got to tell you, just, I don't know, it came to my mind for some reason many, 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 many years ago. And this is with all due respect too, by the way. I was out dancing somewhere, and this guy comes up to me, you know, and he goes, hi, my name is, I can't remember what his name was, by the way, but says, hi, my name is Sad, let's say, um, you know, and I'm like, hi, you know, I'm Jenny. And, you know, and I said, where are you from? Because he had an accent, and he said, Turkey. So I went, gobble, gobble, gobble. Just out of fun, just out of fun. Mind you, I had a couple of drinks back then, but I'm just saying, I don't know why that came to my mind. So you will notice and find that more memories will sneak up. You know what I mean? Like certain things, somebody might say something, and it could be like in a real fun way, a good memory, or it can be like, oh my gosh, that just triggered me back for a very painful, difficult time. So how many of you guys are doing Thanksgiving? Like, what do you guys normally do for Thanksgiving? You know, everybody does, you know, normally with family or friends or whatever, and they cook. Some people are vegans, of course. Some people, you know what I mean? Let me know what's going on. So now make sure you subscribe to my channel down there. You can follow me on Instagram, Jenny G Cousins, and I will follow you back if you'd like to book a reading with me. So workwithjenny.com, and I will announce the next live in December when I'm going. But the only way you're going to find out is if you subscribe to my channel. So until next time, you guys, namaste.